Imagine the shock. You've been the victim of a crime, and then, without any warning, you see the accused walking free on the street. No call, no message. You're the last to know. Today, I want to share my journey through the legal system, an experience I never expected to have. Like many, I believe that justice moves swiftly, especially when it comes to DUI manslaughter. But the reality I encountered was quite different. It was almost a year before the person responsible for my son's passing was arrested. And then, to my utter astonishment, after being released on an $80,000 bond, which initially was $150,000, he vanished for 6 months. Again, he was arrested and rewarded with a PR bond. At no time did I know this had happened. A PR, or personal recognizance bond, is when a defendant is released from custody without paying bail, based on the promise to appear in court. It's usually granted if the court believes the defendant won't flee and will attend court dates. Now, factors like the crime, like this crime's nature, he killed my son. The defendant's history, he has 3 arrests. 1 drinking and driving with an open container. Carrying a baseball bat as a weapon. What did he want to do with that? Beating his girlfriend at a bar and spending 18 months in anger management classes. Now, why would the court reward him with a PR? I have no idea. He disappeared again for 3 months, rewarding someone who only makes sense when they follow the rules. It would be best to go back to the 1960s and 70s to understand why this is happening. There were additional rules he should have followed, and I will explain each in another video. I am in my 70s and living solo. You can imagine the anxiety that creeps in with the thought of hidden dangers when I believe that the probation department is monitoring him and find out they're not. I was wrong. The individual in question should have been under strict probation, which I was led to believe by my victim's advocate, appointed by the DA. This is why, in my opinion, she became a gatekeeper for the DA, and who did not believe in victims' rights. Now, after an incident that happened in which I suffered PTSD, she retired, as well as another lost her job, and the DA was changed. I was led to believe the reason the probation officer was overwhelmed with too many cases. That is why he was released on PR bond. Actually, not that he was released on a PR bond, that he wasn't supervised on a PR bond. He was still driving and drinking. So many times, another person's life was taken, which happened to a very dear friend of mine whose daughter was killed by someone who was out on bail for manslaughter that he had just committed 7 months prior. As someone with no previous experience with the legal system, I had the impression that justice was prompt, especially in grave matters like a tragic loss of a loved one. Yet, in a bewildering turn of events, it took nearly a year for arrest of the individual responsible for my son's death. Shockingly, after being released on bail, the person disappeared for half a year, was given a PR bond, and vanished again, this time for 3 months. I was left out of the loop during all this. Now, with no updates on these alarming developments, at 70-something, living by myself, it's been harrowing thought. Considering the possible dangers during this period. And all along, believing he was in jail. I was told that. Here again, I was led to believe that he was in prison and under the supervision of a probation officer. In a future video, I will describe bonds and their conditions, which again, in my case, the defendant was never supervised. In the aftermath of a tragedy, laws like MARSEY'S Law come into being to safeguard victims' rights. Now, this law was named after Marcy Nicholas, who was tragically killed by her ex-boyfriend in 1983. It represents a significant advancement for the rights of victims and their families in the U.S. legal system. Now, let's talk a little bit more about Marsy's Law. It emerged when her family experienced the trauma of encountering her alleged murderer after he was released on bail without their knowledge. It mandates rights for victims, including the right to timely information, involvement in court proceedings, and protection against harassment. Now, despite its intent to protect victims, Marsy's Law has been controversial. Critics suggest it might compromise the rights of the accused, potentially impacting the fairness of trials and the presumption of innocence. Again, everything seems to be for the criminal or for the defendant or for the murderer in my case. Join me in my upcoming videos where I'll explore bond terms and the bail system's impact on safety and justice. I'll also share a personal story on the system's shortcomings. Tune in for insights and essential knowledge on navigating the your legal rights and protection. Please, if you like what I'm talking about, subscribe. I welcome you. I also welcome your comments on what has happened to you as well. I am the mother of Dr. Kelly Jean Rainey and his beautiful dog, Marshall, who was killed by a drunk driver on January 2019 as he slept. Thank you.